Welcome to another episode of China Update, where I provide you guys with the most up-to-date political, economic and geostrategic analysis on the world's number 2 economy. My name is Tony. Let's jump in.
Happy Tuesday, everybody. Industrial profits continue to fall. According to official numbers published by the National Bureau of Statistics over the weekend, industrial profits fell 20.6% in China in the 4 months January through April versus the same period last year. And we note that last year several cities, including Shanghai, were in lockdown during this period. The thin silver lining is that the drop is slightly slower than the Q1 decline of 21.4% year-on-year. In the single month of April, profits were down 18.2%. Quote, "The weak recovery of effective demand has continued to weigh on the capacity utilization rate, which, coupled with the difficulty to bring down costs, means more patience is needed. The cumulative year-on-year growth may not return to the positive territory until the fourth quarter." End quote. Of course, this is yet more signs that China's much hoped for post-COVID recovery is very much losing steam and will likely need more policy support and stimulus from the government. We did a full episode on this point in yesterday's video. Zhong Zhengsheng, chief economist at Ping An Securities, and Zhang Lu, macro analyst at Ping An, published a special article in Chinese financial media outlet Caixin today discussing these disappointing data. The authors argue that at present, 4 key trends have emerged in the sector. Now quoting the authors directly. 1. The narrower decline in industrial profits was mainly driven by accelerated growth in industrial production, but pricing and costs continue to weigh on overall profitability. Elevated operating costs have been a key factor in contributing to their lackluster earnings. 2. Amid shrinking profits, major industrial companies' asset expansion further decelerated, which may have impacted their capacity and willingness to hire. Since May 2022, the expansion of total assets has been slower than that of total liabilities. This demonstrates that the companies are less willing to expand their assets, while the policy environment focused on stabilizing credit has led to their relatively rapid liability expansion. These conditions have negative implications for growth in manufacturing investment and the sustainability of credit expansion. This suggests, too, that the companies may be inclined to control costs by reducing their workforce, which isn't conducive to the government's efforts to stabilize employment. 3. At the end of April, industrial companies' inventories of finished goods grew 5.9% year-on-year by value, down 3.2 percentage points from a month earlier. This sharp deceleration can be mainly attributed to the overall decrease in industrial product prices. And 4. The raw materials sector was the biggest drag on industrial profits, and insufficient end demand remained a crucial constraint on profit improvement. Okay, next up. As costs decline and demand rises, China's solar sector is accelerating with record-setting installation rates. US financial media outlet Bloomberg writes that China installed almost 3 times the volume of solar capacity between January and the end of April this year than in the same period of 2022. Though, of course, we note that 2022 was a low base due to the previously mentioned national lockdowns, and, quote, is on track to add more panels this year than the entire total of the United States, end quote. China, which is massively reliant on both imported fossil fuels and coal burning for energy, has identified energy security as a national security priority and clean energy as a critical aspect to these efforts, as well as a future technology. As such, the government has poured subsidies into the sector and issued directives for adoption. This has resulted in surging consumption. Strategic global commodities research provider Bloomberg NEF predicts that China could install 154 gigawatts of solar capacity this year, with the firm's lead solar analyst expressing this week, quote, "China is the world's largest solar market, and it's going to continue to be that way through 2030, end quote. While wind and solar generation are being added at a fast clip domestically, energy storage infrastructure is still playing catch-up. with experts warning that some grids are already being overwhelmed. Also, despite these surging solar installation levels, coal will continue to be a dominant and increasing source of power for China in the years to come. Next up, the C919 and China's labour shortage concerns. Hey guys, if you enjoyed today's episode of China Update, don't forget to hit that like button. It's just me making these episodes every day. It's a lot of work, but your guys' support is a huge source of motivation. Subscribing and sharing is a huge help as well, and for those who can go the extra mile and help me keep the channel financially sustainable, Patreon and Buy Me a Coffee links are in the description below. Thank you so much, everybody, for the ongoing support. On Sunday, the PRC's domestically produced C919 jet completed its first commercial flight, taking off from Shanghai at 10:32 a.m. and landing in Beijing at 12:31 p.m. The C919, a narrow-body airliner, is the first commercial jet made domestically in China. China Eastern has now begun using the domestically produced jets in daily trips between Beijing and Shanghai and Chengdu. State media has trumpeted the flight as a milestone for Chinese manufacturing, but it has been a bumpy and expensive road. The jet was developed by state-owned aerospace giant Commercial Aircraft Corp, COMAC for short, hence the C in C919, and according to the company, the C is also part of ABC, that is Airbus, Boeing and COMAC. The state-owned company started developing the C919 in 2008. Production began in 2011, but it wasn't until 11 years later, in September 2022, that the Civil Aviation Administration of China gave the C919 the first of 3 levels of certification required to be flown commercially. Initial demand for the jet had been lukewarm, with the state-owned Shanghai-based China Eastern ordering 5 of the aircraft in March 2021, and there were unconfirmed media reports that during a China Eastern test flight of the aircraft in early February, that technical problems had been discovered. Despite these issues, however, the company says that it has received more than 1,000 letters of intent to purchase. Beijing is hoping that Chinese-made aircraft can challenge the dominance of Boeing and Airbus in commercial jetliner manufacturing, though Chinese experts admit that if this is possible, any true challenge to these aircraft giants will likely not be seen until the 2030s at the earliest. And finally for today, the provincial government in East China's wealthy Jiangsu province is relaxing the upper age limit of construction workers in a bid to solve labour shortage issues at construction sites. This news may sound bizarre to some of us. Is China not seeing record high levels of youth unemployment? Yes, it is. 1 in 5 young people cannot find jobs. So, what exactly is going on here? Well, this juxtaposition suggests that there is indeed a serious skill and expectation mismatch in the labour market, which we discussed yesterday. Blue-collar and white-collar markets are facing very different challenges, with the former aging out rapidly and the latter not creating enough jobs. China's national retirement age is 60 for men and as early as 50 for women. Jiangsu province is permitting up to 10% of a given project's workforce to include male workers up to 65 and female workers up to 60. This sort of policy easing has been seen in recent years in cities including Shanghai, Tianjin and Shenzhen, but this is the first time it has been rolled out at the provincial level, setting a precedent that others will likely follow. This could also be part of a wider set of policy goals and movements to slowly push up the de facto retirement age, something which analysts have labelled as a critical priority for the rapidly aging Chinese population, but which has proven to be very politically difficult to pull off. Okay, that is today's episode of China Update. Thank you so much everybody for watching. Have a wonderful day wherever you are, and I will see you all tomorrow.